Hey guys, it's me, Miss Norris, and today I'd like to share a fun read aloud of the story The Muffin Muncher. The Muffin Muncher was written in 1974 by Stephen Cosgrove and illustrated by Robin James, and it's a really fun story about a monster who loves muffins. If you love muffins and are ready to hear the story, I'm ready to share it with you. Here we go. The Muffin Muncher. Many, many years ago, in the far corner of a very poor country, stood the poorest of poor castles. Not only did the villagers of the castle lack riches and valuables, but they were poor in spirit, for they had done nothing to be proud of. So I know it sounds silly to have a castle but to be poor, but this is the poorest of castles, and not only do they not have money, but their soul is sad too because they haven't made themselves proud. The only way they had survived at all was by baking and selling the most delicious and delectable muffins in the land. Every morning, the king, who was also the head baker, would bake a fresh batch of muffins. When he had finished and the muffins were baked and still warm from the oven, the villagers would load their carts and set off for the other villages in the kingdom. There was never any problem in selling the muffins, since they were the finest ever baked, but because the villagers were so poor, they had to use all the money they had earned to buy more firewood and flour in order to make more muffins. So they had the best muffins in the whole world, but they were so poor that by the time they sold all of their muffins, they only had enough money to buy the things needed to make more muffins. But you can see the villagers going out with their whole little cart full of muffins and getting ready to go sell those to the other villagers. So day in and day out, the head baker, who was also the king, would build up the giant fires in the ovens and bake muffins and muffins and muffins. He would slowly mix all the ingredients in a big cracked bowl, pour the batter into the muffin tins, and carefully put them in the ovens to bake. So this is some really big ovens, and just imagine, this is how people used to have to build fires to turn on their ovens in the past. Now we can just turn the knob, but think about how much harder it would be to cook something if you had to build a fire. And to get the temperature right would be really tricky. The villagers were just barely surviving. As if things weren't bad enough for them, there appeared at the castle one day a great and monstrous dragon. Dun, dun, dun! Now, this was not your everyday run-of-the-mill dragon. He was a rather enormous, slightly overweight, muffin munching dragon. With crumbs still on his face from the muffins he'd eaten at the last castle he visited, the dragon came trotting down the hill right up to the drawbridge. Taking one look at the dragon, the villagers hastily ran over the drawbridge and hustled into the castle to hide. Dun, dun, dun. So, this isn't an ordinary dragon. This is a dragon that eats muffins, and when the people in the castle saw him coming, they ran across that bridge and tried to hide. The dragon took a long, great sniff. "Ah," he mumbled, "I smell muffins." This castle, he decided, smelled like a nice place to stay. He picked up his suitcase and moved in right under the drawbridge. He was very tired from his long journey, so he unpacked his pillow, his pajamas, and his picture of his pony, and curled up and fell fast asleep. But he's not a mean dragon. He's just a dragon that loves muffins and his pony and a pillow. I never knew that a dragon could have pajamas. That's pretty silly. They're pretty cozy looking. The next morning, the villagers looked out of their castle windows and thought the dragon was gone. Breathing a sigh of relief, they calmly began preparing for another day. After loading their wagons with fresh, warm muffins, they set off across the drawbridge over the soundly sleeping dragon. With all the rattling from the wagons, the dragon awoke with a shudder. He yawned once, stretched twice, and peeked over the edge to see what was going on. Oh, so this is it, huh? Those muffins look so good, and I'm so very hungry. He thought, and finally, ding, came up with a plan. Now, I hope this is a nice plan, because those villagers need that muffin money. Look, he's so cute. He's so cute. And maybe not so cute. Hang on. He jumped up on the drawbridge right in front of the villagers, tried to look very ferocious, and roared loudly, "Roar! Stop, or I'll burn up your drawbridge!" Then, to be just a little more convincing, he blew a little flame and puffed 3 smoke rings. "Henceforth," he rumbled, "you shall each give me 10 of your most delicious muffins as you're told to cross my bridge." "But this is our drawbridge," they cried. "Well, I'll burn it up if it won't be anybody's drawbridge," said the dragon. The villagers thought and talked for a moment and finally agreed to give the dragon his muffins. They barely had enough money to buy firewood, let alone enough wood to build a new drawbridge. So this dragon, he got tough. He looked cute, but then he got tough. And he says, "You give me 10 of your best muffins or I'm going to burn this bridge down." And they said, "Well, okay, I guess we'll give you muffins because we don't have enough money to make more muffins, let alone a drawbridge. A drawbridge would be expensive to make." From then on, every wagon that crossed the drawbridge left the dragon 10 absolutely delicious muffins. With crumbs all around him, the dragon would sit there, contentedly stuffing those scrumptious muffins away. This probably would have gone on to this very day, except for one slight problem. What could it be? Do you guys know what it is? The dragon was eating so many muffins that the villagers did not have enough to sell. Because of that, they didn't have enough money to buy firewood for the ovens, or even flour to bake more muffins. They would return every day with fewer and fewer supplies, until one day they came home with nothing. Wah, wah. But look at how happy this muffin munching dragon is. Just eating his muffins and all the crumbs of muffins. So many muffins. And like they said, this would still be going on, but they ran out of supplies. The next morning, the head baker, who was also the king, could not fire up the great ovens because there was no firewood. He could not use his big cracked bowl because he had no flour or supplies to make into muffins. With a heavy heart and a tear in his eye, the baker sat sadly on a pile of empty flour sacks and cried, "We have no more supplies to make muffins and no more wood to light the fires. We cannot bake any more muffins, and the dragon will burn our drawbridge down. Whatever are we going to do?" So the baker, who's also the king, he's kind of freaking out because he has to lead this village, this castle, but he can't anymore. He doesn't have any firewood, he doesn't have any flour, and now it's inevitable that the dragon is going to burn down their drawbridge and then they're going to be stuck in the castle. That very same day, the dragon woke up, brushed his teeth, combed his hair, and prepared for another day of muffin munching. He waited and waited and waited. No wagons came, no muffins came, and the dragon's stomach began to rumble and grumble and growl. He tried eating a few of the crumbs that had been dropped on the ground the day before, but that did not satisfy his hunger. Besides, they were stale. Ugh. "No muffins," he grumbled, as his stomach rumbled and growled. "No muffins!" Finally, he decided to enter the castle and find out what had happened to all of his muffins. So he's hungry, and he tried just to eat the crumbs that were on the ground. And there was a lot, remember? Let's look back at that for a second. The Muffin Muncher is not a very clean eater, and there's a bunch of muffins down there. So if he just ate those crumbs, he'd probably be pretty good. But they were stale. So he's going to go find out what's going on. Where's his muffins? Why didn't you bring any muffins to me today? You need me to burn down your bridge? The dragon wandered through the castle until he reached the bakery. Then he peeked inside. "Where are my muffins?" he rumbled. "I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Where are my muffins?" He doesn't look too mad, but he's curious. He wants to know, where are his muffins? Sorry, buddy, no muffins. The head baker, who was also the king, walked up to the dragon as bravely as he could. "Mr. Dragon," he said, "we are poor villagers living in a poor castle which has very little. And before you came, the muffins we sold barely paid for our firewood and our supplies. Now that we have to give you so many muffins, we can't afford to buy enough firewood and our ovens have no heat." That poor dragon was so very confused. He wanted some muffins because he was so hungry. But at the same time, he felt sorry for the baker and the other villagers who lived in the castle. Oh, you guys, looks like our little dragon has some heart to him. Because even though he's hungry and he wants to be like, "Raw, I'm ferocious," when the baker, who's also the king, says, "We don't have enough stuff, and now that we have to give you stuff, we don't have any more stuff," he starts to feel a little bad. Oh, maybe I'm a bad guy. The dragon thought and thought. Finally, a great big smile crossed his face. "I have it!" he shouted. He asked the head baker, who was also the king, to call all of the villagers to a castle conference so that he could tell them of his marvelous plan. The villagers happily began to cheer and shout as he finished, for surely the dragon had solved the castle's problems, and his own, forevermore. So the dragon's thinking about what's happening, and then he's, aha, ding, I got an Yeah. Call everybody in the castle to a meeting, and we're going to figure this out. Something that's going to work for you, something that's going to work for me. Then, and for always, the dragon heated the ovens of the bakery with his mighty flame. And with the extra money they saved by not having to buy firewood, the villagers could easily afford to leave generous stack of muffins within easy reach of the muffin munching dragon. So you can see, he's heating the... Oh, I'm going to get a little closer so you can see this a little bit better. The dragon, the muffin muncher, he's using his mighty flame to make the ovens hot, win, and check out this big pile of muffins. Because they don't have to buy firewood anymore, they can give him as many muffins as he wants. And they just put it close by him so that he can get one anytime he wants. And this story ends with a little poem. While heating up the ovens with a lot of style and grace, the muffin muncher smiles a smile with crumbs upon his face. Ladies and gentlemen, the end. I hope you really enjoyed this story of the Muffin Muncher. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of the page. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click that subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. And don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified when there's new content. And in the future, if you have a problem, be like the Muffin Muncher and think of a way to solve it. I hope to see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.